Local programming on KRWG made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
One of my favorite things to do on this show is to have our typical roundtable discussion. Now, this time it's not going to be as typical as we normally do. We've been talking a lot with high school and college students on this very show, and I thought that one of the neatest things to do would be to bring some of our college students around the table from our very own community and engage in a traditional roundtable discussion. So joining us today, we have several guests. We have Paola Hernandez, who has been on our show before as NHI's College Student of the Year. She is joining us. She is a current student at the University of Texas at El Paso. Also joining us today, we have Malyssa Zambrano, also a student currently at UTEP, born and raised in the El Paso area. And also we have joining us Lauren Falco, also from the University of Texas at El Paso, and all ready to discuss about things going on in our community and the like. And kind of interesting thing that I said off air, this is the first time I'm having a roundtable discussion entirely with young ladies. It's a pretty
taking over the world.
Yeah, well, actually, that's exactly where I was going to go, Paola. It's kind of an interesting place right now. A lot of people always talk about the fact that women need to have doors still open today, but what some people don't know is some of the changes that have been going on demographically. And when it comes to the workforce, we see it sometimes with people like Hillary Clinton or maybe Nancy Pelosi, Sarah Palin, all sorts of very accomplished women now taking leadership positions throughout our country, throughout our community. Are women taking over the world?
We are.
We were actually at Cathedral High School, and we were visiting a creative writing class, and
I'm sure that was
it was interesting.
The boys weren't used to seeing girls, obviously, but we were debating how Latinas, well, women in general, are coming up in today's world and how roles are switching and how the boys themselves feel about that, how they're going to feel about being married and dating a girl who makes more money than them.
And half of the boys were terrified. They were like, I refuse to, I can't, I'm Mexican. What does that have anything to do with it? But yeah, boys aren't taking it well.
It's kind of interesting. You have some demographics right now that are facing not only communities like our own, but all over the nation, where more women have been educated at higher education levels. I'm talking bachelor degree level, advanced degree level, than men since 1989. And that is something that is not only a part of the Latino Hispano community, but part of all communities that are part of the United States. It's kind of an interesting fact. I mean, since 1989, more ladies have been educated at higher education levels. What does that mean for you guys? I mean, are these good things, bad things?
I think it's good. I think it's a fascinating trend. As a female myself, I'd like to think that we're coming up in the world and we're finally taking advantage of the opportunities that are there for us.
I think more opportunities are actually presenting themselves as well. It's not just we're taking advantage of them, but there's more growing. And the people that I guess said, you know, women can't do this, we're proving them wrong.
And I think that going off of that and basing it off an article that actually Joseph Yescas wrote for VRMI and News Taco.
He's been a guest with us before.
We were talking about it, and although we are, you know, getting ahead in the world and getting more degrees, what does that mean for a family life? You know,
that's a good point.
Less and less women are becoming pregnant. Less and less women are getting married or are getting married at
a later age.
Yeah, at a later age. Or they're having children at a later age, therefore they have less children. They're spending less and less time with their children. And so it really has, I guess, a reverse effect into the family life. But I mean,
do you guys
right now it's good for us to be to be taking over the world.
Now, do you ladies see this in your everyday life, this shift ongoing, or is it still a little foggy in our community in terms of this actual shift where more ladies are actually better educated than men?
I was actually very interested to see the article that Joseph had written, because I have been noticing it my entire college career. You look around and all the girls in my classes, or all the students in my classes are girls. Well, not all of them, but the majority of them. And you see the roster, and it's like 89 girls and 33 boys. And I'm like, wow, there's more females in college than there are males, and I didn't expect that going in.
What does this mean about the future of our community, or any community for that matter?
Well, I believe that it means that our community has to become more integrated with other communities around it, because obviously our community's men aren't sufficing. And
that's a little tough to swallow, I guess.
Well, they're not stepping up. It's not my fault. Or they're leaving elsewhere. We were talking about it, and you know, there's a lot of NHIs who are our age and our friends from El Paso, all boys. Arthur is at St. Edward's University. Nick Zarowski is at the University of Chicago. Nick Calva is at the University of North Texas. You know, I could go on and on. David Zambrano is at the University of
Austin next
semester.
So a lot of your close nucleus of friends that are well accomplished are not here, is
high
what you're saying.
achievers that we know are going to do well later. They're not here, or else maybe there's some here and they just aren't stepping up. They aren't taking advantage of the opportunities. They're not showing off what they can do. I
And all the
suppose,
boys have left. And it was really interesting when we were discussing it. All the girls, you know, all of our, I guess, group of friends, the girls are still here or have stuck close to their communities. And all the boys are gone far and far away.
Is that because of a genuine interest in staying in the community, or is it also because of a lot of the family ties? You know, that traditional kind of sense that young ladies should stay close to home, and versus young men being allowed to go off to college?
I personally think that a lot of men have this kind of idea of grandeur, and as soon as they leave, they think like they're automatically gonna accomplish.
These are like fighting words here.
It's more so like they think that they can accomplish stuff other places, and they can't accomplish things in their own community. And so once they leave, they're just less. I guess they're more motivated by other things than, you know, the automatic dream that they had when they left. So like women, we're very focused on family and stuff, not to sound stereotypical, but we are very focused on family. And, you know, as I'm sure Paola and me, I mean, I specifically stayed at university because of my family. And then they wanted me to stay, and I wanted to stay because of them. So it's really just how we focus our lives in El Paso.
Priorities are different.
And
I think that also has a good effect, or a great effect on our coming up in the world, our becoming better leaders, because we are more connected. We have a better ability to connect with other people, and that's what a leader needs. And men just are a little anti-emotional.
Wow. So I have three.
That's what happens when you get 3 girls.
Hey, I have 3 of you, very well accomplished, obviously, very community-oriented, family-oriented. You're all kind of, we're having a good time around the table here. And as we discuss this, all right, so obviously you're all focused on the future of the community. It's kind of like that anthem song that came out recently by Beyonce. All of you are in a position to run El Paso, run Las Cruces, run the world. But
Wrong song.
So if you are genuinely interested in these things, family, your community, the future of both of these, what are the big issues facing our community right now? In your own mind, what are some of the big things that we face?
Brain drain would be my first go-to answer. A lot of people, like we said before, are leaving El Paso because they don't see any opportunity, or I think it's much more that they don't want to look for any opportunities.
So you think there is opportunity, a lot of opportunity? There's
a lot of opportunities in El Paso, and they're not being taken advantage of because everyone is so eager to leave that no one wants to look for the opportunity. Everyone wants it handed to them in a letter that says Harvard University. And so I think that's a huge issue, that people need to realize that we have a fantastic university, 2 fantastic universities that serve our community, you know, NMSU and UTEP, and they're not being taken advantage of, or people aren't utilizing them to their fullest potential because everyone is so darn eager to leave.
I think it's great to get out and, you know, explore the world and go where you want to school and stuff, but I mean, if it's ultimately not gonna show up in your community, like if you're not going to change things in your community, where like, I mean, that you've been there most of your entire life, I mean, that's where you should start, and then you can always globalize it. That's always what I've thought, and I think especially in El Paso, because people have lived here their entire lives. They're like,
yeah, lived here for years.
They're just
years.
like, I don't want to be like my family. I want to leave. I want to do this. I want to do that. And it's like, well, you could possibly change that in your community as well. It's the greatest place to start because you're familiar with it.
One of the most interesting conversations I had about within the last week was about what made our community unique. And you know, I was surrounded by a group of college students like yourselves and some high school students, and the best they could come up with was Chicos Tacos. Your response to that?
Chicos is good. I mean,
it's actually kind of funny because I'm a media advertising major, and so I have to take a lot of like principles of advertising and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we watched the El Paso, like the promotional video for El Paso, and it's a completely different, like they show you everything about El Paso, and I'm like, wow, we have that? Like, what is what is that? I've never even seen it. But like, it's funnier too, the fact that one of the biggest highlights of the video was the food. Like I mean, the entire thing was pretty much people eating in different places, and I was just like, you know, we have more than that, but I mean, it's a great part of our culture. Yeah.
What are some of these things that we have more of? I mean, and I totally agree with you. A lot of people equate our community with culture, with cuisine, with, I mean, that's what we're equated to in terms of tourism and that stuff. But what are these other things that you feel that we offer? That
we have a huge, I guess, political stepping stone within our community because we are a part of borderland region. So, you know, you get to make an impact not only in the El Paso, Las Cruces area, but also in the Juarez community or in, you know, areas surrounding Juarez and other Chihuahua, I guess, cities or communities. And so I think that a lot of people who want to start their political or have political aspirations or want to start a political career don't realize that, or who want to implement public policy don't realize that, or who want to go into international business don't realize that. And I feel like it's one of the greatest places to start one of those, I guess, lifelong careers, because you have those opportunities.
I'd like to think that although a lot of people think that the language barrier is a problem, because we have so many bilinguals in our community, I actually think that's an advantage. You don't see that in a lot of places, and neurologically, bilinguals are cognitively more advanced to begin with. And I don't know, not a lot of people speak two languages that we can branch out and serve a lot of people with that. And I think that instead of seeing that as a deficit, we should try to turn that around, and instead of being like, oh, well, you speak Spanish, I can't communicate with you, you know, toss you off to the side. Try to communicate with them, try to teach them what you know, try to learn from each other. I think that's a huge asset that we have.
Yeah, I don't know Spanish.
It's all right. A lot of El Pasoans don't still.
Yeah,
a lot of people in Las Cruces don't.
It's more so like, I mean, my friends make fun of me all the time because she'll text me stuff in Spanish, and I'm just like, I don't know what you're saying. I'm sorry. I can't. I don't.
Google Translate.
I was like, can you just tell me what you're gonna say, because I have no idea what you're talking about. But she'll try and teach me Spanish words, and my dad speaks fluent Spanish. But he's also very, very, very Caucasian. Yeah. And so it's kind of funny because my dad, like, he'll speak Spanish to me too, and I'm just like, Dad, I don't know what you're saying. But I'm trying to like pick it up so I can at least understand what people are saying, as opposed to just like, yeah, I'm just like, oh, I know a Spanish word.
A lot of business opportunities, I think, open up from that. Like, your dad owns his own business, and he's in New Mexico, and
he owns a convenience store chain in New Mexico that's specifically based out of New Mexico, and it just kind of, it's been a lot easier for him to, you know, apply it because he can speak both languages and he can communicate. He speaks better Spanish than most, like, Hispanics. It's kind of, it's funny.
You know, hearing all three of you talk is exciting, and it's exciting because it also kind of inspires you to think about the possibilities. Hearing you talk about all the positive qualities. I'm hearing the fact that you consider the community to be a world capital of sorts, where you could begin a business, that you could develop a business like your father's, or that you have a community that's so bilingual, and the fact that we are the world's largest international metroplex is a pretty big deal for our community. So listening to these, you know, this kind of enthusiasm, it just kind of begs the question: what do you think of El Paso leadership as it currently stands? Where do you think this community needs to go? And what role do you plan to take in all of that? I mean,
well, I think that a lot of the people who are engaged right now as political leaders don't see it as necessarily an end. They want to use it as a stepping stone to further their political careers, or to say, I want to run for the U.S. Congress, or I want to be able to own my own business and be recognized because I was in city council or some other organization. And so I think that the second that people start getting to El Paso leadership positions as an end, because they want to be there and not because they're using it to get somewhere else, then that's when we're going to start having great leaders and not only sufficient ones.
I think that we have a lot of great leaders with a lot of potential in our community, but a lot of them don't see our community as having potential, and they don't utilize the members of our community and the assets and the social capital that we have here to their advantage, and so they're limiting themselves in that way, and our community is, I guess, not benefiting from it.
Yeah. Oh no, I was just gonna add to that. I think it's more so that El Paso, it's one of those it's a lot of hidden treasure, I think, behind the scenes. Like, if you know the right people, you can get somewhere, but it's really not true. I mean, it's especially because in our community, we're very open. Like, we have a very open community, and it's just the culture. We have a very, everyone's really nice.
We like to help.
Yeah, we like to help out people, and I get that a lot from people who come in, from out of town, who've never been here. They're just like, wow, everyone's so nice. I'm just like, yeah, it's because we just are.
We just are. Going off the leadership, and it was an interview that we did, and I was actually with you, when we got to have a roundtable discussion with former Attorney General Alberto Gonzalez.
That's right, you were there with
that?
me. Yes, we were at former Attorney General.
Former Attorney General of the United States.
Yeah.
Alberto Gonzalez, obviously
Texas
Latino,
Tech.
Texas Tech, from Houston, Texas. And I mean, I don't mean to throw anyone under the bus here, but this man.
You're about to.
But I'm about to. So
we all know where this is going. So.
I mean, when you're talking to a group of freshmen, and all you're talking about is, what do I need to say so I can get back in the political lens? Then it's kind of wrong. But when you go out,
you felt that's where he was going with his speech.
And when you go out and publicly admit, I don't consider myself a leader. And I remember I asked him a question towards the end, and I asked him where he was from. And he said Houston, Texas. And I asked him what he had done for Houston, in a local scale, to better it as a Latino leader. And he responded, well, I don't consider myself a Latino leader. I never said that. All right, fine. What do what have you done as a leader? And he said he didn't consider himself a leader either. And it was just kind of very disappointing.
It was a difficult discussion to have.
It was, but it was disappointing to know that an attorney general and a person that has achieved so much didn't want to be a role model for people who, aspire to be like him or to aspire to get a position like that.
So what is the kind of leadership that would cause all of you to become engaged, or what is the kind of leadership you feel your community needs? I mean, you have a lot of people asking, why aren't younger folks involved? Why don't young people go out and vote?
That's a certain stigma that we're getting right now, like our generation. I know so many of my teachers have said, I don't know why you guys aren't more involved within your community, and why aren't you more involved in school? We are involved in school, you're just not looking at the right people. You're looking at the wrong examples, I think. But we met through debate. Well, high school debate and college debate. So obviously,
all three of you very articulate, obviously. In debate. Yes.
And we connected because we actually like to argue, and we like to talk about more serious issues.
Take a stand on our opinions and
don't
back down.
Not only talk about shoes,
not our hair.
Who's
cute. We just like to determine what are actual things that should be talked about. And luckily, we've gotten into leadership positions. Obviously them in NHI, and just looking at different opportunities in El Paso, you just need to make sure that you have the courage to look at the opportunities in El Paso and take that leadership position.
The right mindset, yeah. To answer your question, I think that we need a leader who has an asset-minded view of El Paso. Like there's so much that we can take from El Paso and make into a bigger picture, and we don't see it.
Pride is a good thing.
Yeah, pride is a good thing.
Pride is a very good thing.
And a lot of people don't have that pride in El Paso, or in the people that are in El Paso, they underestimate their peers, they underestimate their community members, their fellow community members. And if they just went out and realized that these people are willing to help, that these people have potential, that these people can take them places, then I think our community could grow and expand and become what I know that it can be.
What's the difference between your life story that brought you to a place, in your life story that brought you to a place where you're as passionate and enthusiastic about all of these different things ongoing in your own community? Because I would venture to say that you guys are more of the exception rather than the norm. What's the difference? I mean, you mentioned debate earlier. Was that it, or in your life story, what do you think it was? Is it your family?
I think it mainly had to do with my family.
Yeah.
Both my parents were very involved. Like, my mom is very involved. She's a debate teacher, a debate coach. So she kind of got me into that, and I've loved it ever since. And my dad's very stubborn in his practices, but he gets the job done.
He gets what he wants.
Yeah, he gets what he needs to get done. So it's sad to think that some people aren't growing up with role models like that, and there needs to be more role models. Even if they aren't your parents, there needs to be more role models out there for kids like that.
Yeah, I think it partially has to do with upbringing, partially personality. I know none of us are complacent. We're not like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. We're like, if it's not broken, let's make it better.
Yeah. Let's paint it and put glitter on it.
Let's see what we can do with it.
We like everything big. We like very extravagant.
I think, and I would agree full-heartedly with Lauren and with Malyssa, it had a lot to do with my family, and a lot to do with my personality too. My mom is, and I love my mother, but she's very...
The epitome of a pampered housewife.
Yeah, my mom is the epitome of a trophy wife. And she goes and gets her nails done, and she goes golfing and shopping and breakfast with her friends. And, God forbid she has to work a day of her life. But with me, she's been very, I guess, encouraging. And she's always telling us, go to class and go do this and be engaged in this, because she sees that our world is not the same as the world that she grew up in. And when she was growing up, it was, you better hope you're pretty so you can marry someone who'll, maintain you throughout your life. And now it's not the case. Because if we don't take charge, then who else will?
Well, ladies are running the world.
Exactly.
We were talking about this earlier today.
So I think that my mom played a huge role in the way I am, because she wouldn't let me settle. And because she wouldn't let me settle, then I learned to not be complacent. And I learned to always want, what's bigger and brighter. And so.
Go ahead.
Okay, I think my mom, ever since we were little, I think that this has a lot to do with it. She would put us in volunteer positions. We would always have Thanksgiving with soldiers or with people from the community. She would take us into the community. We would work with Dame las Manos. That's an organization here for women, single women who were abused and who have children. And we'd go to Juarez and we'd give toys to the kids, and we'd kind of see the culture there. And she wasn't afraid to take us into the community and get us involved, I suppose. So I've always grown up with that.
It's the same thing with my mom. She made me do Girl Scouts, and she made me do, but she was always involved with everything that I did. So I also did like community stuff, and I did stuff in Juarez. I like built houses and stuff like that. So it kind of connected me more to the community.
So obviously, parent involvement with all three of you was something very big in your lives. So you've come to a point where, because of this parent involvement, all your different experiences that you've talked about here, you've gotten to a point where you're so enthusiastic about the future of the place where you live, about what could happen, about the possibilities. So in the last 3 minutes, let's say tomorrow, tag you're it. You're the three that are going to lead the community in a different direction.
All right.
We'd be ready.
So what would be the first few things that you would tackle? Keep in mind we got 3 minutes.
University life. I think
life.
that we have a great university, and
I think
the
there's-
students within it need to realize that.
I think there just needs to be more focus on the students. Like if you go to any college campus, even in Texas, any college campus, like most of the area that's around the campus is specifically based for students. And you have discounts, you have all kinds of stuff just for those students. And so it's slowly becoming that, but it needs to be, you know, maybe even sped up a little bit because students are not.
We're the ones going to be
realizing the
running.
potential.
Exactly.
this
We're
town.
the future leaders of this community, and we're not taking the positions in the university that we could be to I guess lead to that.
So focus on university level
On
students.
university level students. Also, I think it's very important to work with, you know, the younger kids in high school and start them in high school, because when you deal with, you know, bright, eager young minds starting from high school, then you realize that by the time you get to college, you know, that's just the norm, and it's normal to be in leadership positions, and it's normal to step up, and it's normal to go above and beyond.
So leadership involvement for
leadership
young
involvement, I
young
think,
people.
for younger
and the third
kids.
final thing we got
For El
last
Paso,
minute.
I think that for the size and population that we have, we need a better transportation system. And I think that would facilitate communication and more business opportunities between. I feel like we're very separated: the Northeast, the East Side, the West Side, Upper
Integration.
I
Valley.
mean, when it takes 30 minutes to get everywhere, it's just it's ridiculous.
Integration. Definitely.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to have to bring you, all three of you, back at some point to do another one of these roundtables. It was probably the most fun roundtable that I've had here in a while. Folks, it's always great to surround yourself by great, bright young minds and think about our future. It's important that we continue to do so. It's important that we continue to engage. Great things are happening in our community. We'll see you next time for all of us here at Fronteras. Thank you. Good night. I'm Hector H. Lopez.